Welcome back to The Clean Truth by Roobi. This is our 38th episode titled, You've Never Treated Your Breville This Good, the Maintenance Ritual Most Owners Skip.
Yeah, and it's a topic that I think a lot of people just actively avoid.
Right, because owning a great espresso machine is, really only part of making consistently great coffee. How you maintain that machine actually has a massive impact on its performance and your coffee quality.
And its ultimate longevity, too, right? I mean, it's not just about today's cup.
Exactly. So today we are doing a deep dive into the official Breville maintenance and descaling guide. We really want to explore why descaling is an absolutely essential part of Breville coffee machine maintenance.
Which is mainly because minerals that are just, well, naturally present in your water will inevitably accumulate inside the machine over time.
Yeah, we'll discuss how that mineral buildup and neglected maintenance can completely alter the hidden mechanics of the brewing process. Waiting until a machine shows obvious signs of trouble is just a terrible strategy.
It really is. There is such an important distinction to be made between routine cleaning, like making the outside look nice, and preventive maintenance on the internal systems you rarely see.
For sure. Proper maintenance is really a simple ritual rather than an occasional frantic repair. Regular descaling and machine care maintain consistent performance.
Which is exactly the philosophy behind something like Roobi's Super Kit for Breville maintenance. It's designed as a convenient way to bring all the different parts of coffee machine care together into one cohesive routine.
Right, because taking care of a premium coffee machine should just be considered part of the coffee-making experience itself. Better maintenance means protecting the machine you already own.
And helping it continue producing consistent coffee over time.
Exactly. Let's get into the maintenance ritual your Breville has been waiting for and why a little care today can make a big difference in every cup tomorrow.
You know, it is a profound shift in mindset when you stop looking at a coffee machine as just a simple kitchen appliance.
Yeah, like a toaster or something.
Right, and you start recognizing it as a highly pressurized, precision-engineered chemical extraction lab.
That is the perfect place to start. Because imagine spending $1,000 on a piece of precision engineering, bringing it into your kitchen, dialing in the perfect espresso bean, and then just slowly choking that beautiful machine to death from the inside out.
All because you ignored a few specific words in its documentation.
Exactly. So our mission today is to extract the precise meaning behind a very specific piece of technical writing. We are looking at just a single, heavily loaded string of text from the source.
The excerpts from the guide titled Tutorials, How to Perform a Descale, the Barista Express, Breville.
Yeah, and okay, let's unpack this, because on the surface, it just looks like a standard table of contents label, right?
It does, but there is an entire philosophy of mechanical preservation embedded in that phrasing.
I noticed they chose the word tutorials, specifically in the plural.
All right.
They didn't label this section instructions or user guide.
Which is a very deliberate choice.
Right. To me, a tutorial implies that I am a student. It feels unusually formal for a kitchen appliance. It sets up this dynamic where the manufacturer is actively teaching me a curriculum.
Rather than just handing you a static map of the buttons.
Exactly. It feels like the difference between being handed a map versus having a personal guide walk you through a new city.
What's fascinating here is that structural choice is deeply intentional. When you purchase a basic appliance, say a standard pop-up toaster, the form dictates the function.
Right. It's totally intuitive.
Yeah, you press the lever, the bread lowers, heat is applied.
Yeah.
The manufacturer provides an instruction booklet, mostly just for liability.
Sure, like don't put this in the bathtub.
Exactly. But an espresso machine operates in an entirely different realm of physics. By placing this under tutorials, Breville is acknowledging the machine is no longer self-evident.
They're inviting you to learn a necessary skill.
Because the internal ecosystem of that machine requires an educated operator. You can't just guess your way through it.
Well, let's talk about that internal ecosystem, because the title goes out of its way to establish a boundary. It specifically says the Barista Express with the registered trademark symbol included.
Which is a detail a lot of people just gloss over entirely.
Oh, absolutely. So what does this all mean? I have to admit, my initial reaction to seeing a registered trademark in a maintenance guide is to just roll my eyes.
It feels like corporate legal jargon.
Exactly. Is there actually a practical difference for you, the user at home, to care about that trademark symbol? Or is it just the legal department making sure nobody steals their name?
Well, we have been conditioned to ignore trademark symbols on, soda cans and fast food wrappers, so that skepticism makes total sense.
Right, it's just branding.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, in the context of high-performance technical maintenance. That trademark is actually a warning against generalization. It signifies a closed, proprietary mechanical environment.
Meaning this isn't a broad guide on how to fix a coffee maker in general.
Far from it. An espresso machine like the Barista Express utilizes incredibly specific fluid dynamics. It has proprietary internal sensors.
And a very specific vibratory pump, right?
Yeah.
Capable of, like, 15 bars of pressure.
Exactly. Plus a customized thermocoil system made of distinct alloys. The trademark indicates that the information in this document is engineered exclusively for that exact physical architecture.
So you really can't just apply generic advice here.
No, if you take a generalized concept of maintenance and apply it to a proprietary machine, you risk catastrophic damage.
Give me a tangible example of that. What actually happens if I treat this highly specific machine like, I don't know, a generic drip coffee pot?
Well, what do most people do when their cheap drip pot slows down?
Oh, I know plenty of people who just dump a bottle of white household vinegar into the water tank to clear it out.
Right.
So why can't I just wing it with vinegar in a heavy steel espresso machine?
That is a brilliant example of where generalization destroys precision equipment. Standard white vinegar contains acetic acid.
Which cleans things, right?
Yeah. While acetic acid will eventually dissolve some minor mineral buildup, it is incredibly aggressive on specific types of rubber and silicone. Inside the Barista Express, there is a complex network of silicone O-rings and seals.
And those have to withstand that 15 bars of pressure without leaking?
Exact.
15 bars is roughly 220 pounds per square inch, right? That is like the pressure of a scuba tank or a high-end racing tire.
It is exactly that level of intensity. Now, if you run acetic acid through those proprietary seals, the silicone can swell, degrade, and eventually fail under that massive pressure.
Wow, so suddenly your machine is leaking internally and shorting out the electronics.
Yep. Furthermore, vinegar doesn't even efficiently target the specific type of calcium sulfate scale that forms in high-heat thermocoils, and it leaves a residual flavor that will ruin your next 20 lattes.
Oh, gross. So by clearly identifying the machine as a proprietary trademark entity, the guide is demanding that you respect its specific materials.
And use the correct formulated descalers, usually specific blends of lactic or citric acid designed for that exact hardware.
So the trademark is essentially saying, leave your assumptions at the door. You're interacting with our specific engineering now.
Exactly.
Which leads perfectly into the actual physics of what we are fighting against. We keep talking about descaling. I think a lot of people view descaling as just a really deep clean.
Which is a dangerous misconception.
Right. There's a massive difference between routine cleaning, like wiping down the steam wand so it looks shiny, and the preventive maintenance of descaling.
Oh, absolutely.
What is actually happening inside the dark, hidden plumbing of this machine that makes this ritual so critical?
To understand that, we have to look at the chemistry of water. The water you pour into the reservoir is not pure H2O.
It has minerals in it.
Right. It is a solvent carrying dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium. Under normal room temperature conditions, those minerals stay happily suspended in the liquid.
But an espresso machine obviously doesn't operate at room temperature.
No, it operates by taking that water and flash heating it to around 200 degrees Fahrenheit under immense pressure.
And heat fundamentally changes solubility.
It does. When water hits that extreme temperature inside the metal thermocoil, the calcium carbonate literally drops out of the solution. It precipitates and physically bonds to the metal walls of the internal plumbing.
Which is what we call scale. It sounds a lot like plaque building up in an artery, just slowly restricting the flow over time.
That is an accurate mechanical analogy, but there is a secondary, even more destructive effect. Calcium carbonate is an incredible thermal insulator.
Wait, really? It blocks heat?
Yes. The Barista Express relies on a highly calibrated PID controller. It is a digital sensor to ensure the water hitting your coffee grounds is exactly 200 degrees.
Okay, so it reads the temperature of the metal coil.
And assumes the water inside is matching that heat.
Ah, I see where this is going. If the inside of that metal coil is coated in a millimeter of rock-hard calcium,
then the heat from the metal cannot transfer effectively into the water. The machine thinks it is brewing at 200 degrees, but the water actually hitting your coffee might only be 185 degrees.
which completely ruins the extraction. Coffee extraction is a delicate chemical process. If your water is too cold, it won't extract the heavy, sweet oils from the beans.
Right, you only pull out the sharp, acidic compounds.
So your coffee starts tasting incredibly sour, the cream disappears, and you probably start blaming the coffee beans.
when in reality your machine is just internally insulated by a layer of rocks.
Wow.
And if you let it go completely unchecked, the scale will continue to build until it entirely blocks the 1 millimeter valve openings.
And then what?
At that point, the pump turns on, tries to force water against a solid wall of calcium, and just burns its own motor out. The machine is dead.
Jeez. This is why waiting until the machine sounds funny or the coffee tastes bad is a terrible strategy. By the time you notice the symptoms, the internal environment is already compromised.
Exactly.
This really highlights why a dedicated routine is so crucial. Maintenance cannot be a frantic reaction to a broken machine. It has to be a regular ritual.
And you brought up Roobi's super kit earlier, and this is exactly where an educational, all-in-one approach makes total sense.
Right. If you have a unified routine that bundles your descaling, your water filter changes, and your back flushing into one consistent habit, you just never reach that catastrophic failure point.
Because you are protecting the hidden ecosystem before it starts insulating your thermocoil.
That shift from reactive fixing to proactive maintenance requires a shift in vocabulary. And I think that is exactly what we see in the action verb Breville uses in their title.
Yes, let's look at that phrasing. How to perform a descale.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They don't say how to do a descale. They don't say how to clean the boiler.
They use the word perform.
Yeah, that feels very deliberate. It sounds almost like executing a technical operation or running a critical software update rather than just doing a casual household chore.
This raises an important question about how we view maintenance, really. It elevates the action entirely.
Because cleaning implies a passive, informal chore, right?
Exactly. You can quickly clean a countertop. You can do a half-hearted job of cleaning a window. But when you perform an operation, it implies a sequential, necessary procedure that must be executed correctly from beginning to end.
It transforms the act from a household chore into a structured technical event.
It really does.
Like my software update analogy earlier, when your computer screen says, "Performing system update, do not turn off power," you respect that process.
You know that if you get impatient and rip the power cord out at 80%, you are going to corrupt the entire hard drive.
Exactly. By using the phrase "perform a descale," Breville is demanding that exact same level of uninterrupted attention in your kitchen.
And that software update analogy is highly accurate for the chemical process occurring inside the machine. A descale is not just pushing water through a tube.
It is a multi-stage chemical reaction.
Right. Stage 1 is the saturation phase, where the pump pushes the acidic descaling solution into the thermocoil and boiler. But then comes stage 2, which is the dwell time.
The waiting period.
Yes. The solution must sit undisturbed inside the metal components, so the acid has time to actively dissolve the calcium carbonate bonds.
So if you treat this like a casual cleaning and just rapidly flush the whole tank through without waiting, what happens?
You are just washing expensive chemicals down the drain without letting them do their job. The scale remains.
Oh, wow. And what happens if you interrupt the final stage? Say you run the chemicals through, but you get bored or distracted and skip the final freshwater flush sequence.
Then you are leaving highly acidic, scale-infused water sitting dormant inside the proprietary valves and O-rings.
Which sounds bad.
Very bad. The very chemicals designed to save the machine will begin to etch the metal and degrade the seals if left indefinitely.
Not to mention the taste.
Right. Furthermore, the next time you try to pull a shot of espresso, you will be brewing your coffee with trace amounts of chemical descaler.
That is a terrifying thought for a Tuesday morning. It really proves why performance is the only accurate word here. There's the script.
There is an introduction of the chemical, a necessary intermission for the reaction, and a critical finale to reset the system to baseline.
And if you skip any act of that performance, the operation fails.
Notice also that they turn descale into a noun. It is a descale. They take an ongoing process and isolate it into a definable technical event.
It mirrors the language of aviation or IT. A pilot doesn't just check the plane, they perform a pre-flight diagnostic.
Exactly. The language commands respect for the complexity of the machinery.
This completely changes the way you approach a Saturday morning when that little maintenance light turns on. It shifts you from being a passive consumer who just wipes down stainless steel.
To an educated operator who understands the gravity of the systems you rely on, you aren't just doing a chore. You are participating in the ongoing engineering of the machine.
And when you respect the language of the manufacturer's guide, you are essentially respecting the physics of the tool.
Which means the tools physically perform better, require fewer repairs, and last significantly longer. You ensure that the 200-degree water is actually 200 degrees.
And you ensure that the 15 bars of pressure aren't blowing out degraded silicone seals?
It really is incredible how much intent, psychology, and pure mechanical necessity can be packed into a single sentence.
It really is. Let's summarize what we've uncovered today. By simply examining the title tutorials, How to Perform a Descale, the Barista Express, Breville, we stripped away the assumption that this was just a basic instruction manual.
Right, we found a manufacturer taking on the role of an educator, setting a firm boundary of proprietary engineering that demands specific chemical solutions.
And elevating a necessary maintenance task to the level of a critical technical performance. We also looked at the actual physics of scale.
How heating water under pressure forces calcium carbonate to precipitate, turning into a thermal insulator that ruins your espresso extraction from the inside out.
And we learned why throwing household vinegar at a complex pump system is a recipe for degraded O-rings, which is why a unified educational routine like the one encouraged by Roobi Superkit is really the only way to proactively protect your investment.
It is the difference between blindly reacting to symptoms and intelligently managing an ecosystem.
Absolutely. So why should you, the listener, care? Because paying close attention to the exact categorization and language a manufacturer uses can completely change how you approach maintaining your own tools and equipment.
Definitely.
The next time you are faced with maintaining a complex piece of equipment in your own home, whether it is a high-end espresso machine, a specialized power tool, or even your car, I want you to consider the specific language the manufacturer uses.
Look closely at the title of the manual or the online guide.
Yeah. If they call the maintenance a performance, a tutorial, or use a trademark name to establish a boundary, stop and ask yourself something. What intricate hidden details of that machine's design might you be missing if you try to just wing it without the official guide?
The words are there to protect the mechanics.
Exactly. It's a compelling thought to mull over before you reach for the generic cleaner.